Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in. Today, I'm going to be talking about some healthy eating tips. We're going to go over how to use MyPlate and just some really great fun facts and ways that you can add in good nutritious supplements in terms of food, not the actual supplement, into your diet. My name is Shivani Patel. I am a student physical therapist at UIC DPT, and we will get started. Now, before we get started, I do want to just preface that I'm not a licensed dietitian, and you should be recommended to meet with one if you'd like to make any considerable lifestyle changes, including a medical professional as well. In addition, this presentation is just to cover like the basic fundamentals of eating strategies and to give you tips on how to incorporate more like healthy foods into your everyday diet. If you do have medical conditions, I would like to preface, please consult your doctor before making any radical changes, because that is really important. So this is a little bit about me. I did my undergraduate degree at University of California, Berkeley. I graduated 2022, the peak of the pandemic. I graduated with a Bachelor's of Arts in Cognitive Science, which, if you're not sure what that is, it's basically an interdisciplinary major that kind of brings in a lot of computer science, data science, neuro, and all things like that. I mainly focused on the importance of artificial intelligence in our healthcare system, as well as artificial intelligence in our data analysis sector. I'm now doing my graduate degree at the University of Illinois, Chicago, and I will be the class of 2026. I do have a cookbook. That's something I'm really happy about. I did in my undergrad, and I'll share with you at the end of the presentation. And in general, I just love everything nutritious and food. These are some of like the foods I've made in the past. I do tend to cook all my meals, so I like to kind of do a little bit of food photography as well. Okay, so let's get into some facts. Um, Less than 10% of Americans will consume a diet that is fully consistent with the dietary guidelines of Americans. And that is a very shocking number because that includes not only your cups of fruit or vegetables, but protein, carbs, everything like that. In addition, 35% of those has met the protein requirement in both the 95 percentile for males and females. That's an extremely low number. We'd like to see that nearing the 90s or even 100%, of course. But basically, what this means is when they took the 95th percentile of that study for both males and female, only 35% of them were meeting the dietary guidelines for protein intake. So let's talk a little bit about MyPlate. If you're not familiar with MyPlate, it is a government program that was created to help you create a personalized food plan that takes into account your age, weight, height, and your physical activity level, as well as your sex. And this is super important because these are huge predictors of how you should be taking in food. Usually when you read nutrition facts, they'll be like, oh, 2 recommended daily amount, but every person's recommended daily amount differs just based on these 5 categories. So you can always head to myplate.gov, and I will go through a little bit of what it looks like to take the MyPlate plan, so that you're familiar with it. The first question they're going to ask you is, what are your top 3 healthy eating goals? And this is an example. So I did get to a healthy weight, increase my energy, and reduce my stress. Next, they're going to ask you which of the following are preventing you from eating healthy. So this will be anything that you feel like is the reason that you can't either afford food that's healthy or you can't incorporate food that's healthy into your diet. For this one, I put no support system, so nothing, no one to help you kind of stay on track. It costs too much and it just takes too much time. Next, I have how familiar are you with MyPlate? So if you're really familiar, you can always put that. But if you're not familiar at all, that's not a shame. Just make sure you put this accurately so it can give you better instructions and resources. And then I'll ask you if you visited MyPlate in the past. Okay, so now this is going to get a little bit more into your diet currently, and then tailor your diet to what you need to be based on your requirements. So, if we look at the fruit group, this is anything like fresh, frozen, canned, dried, or 100% fruit juice. Anything like that, you're going to put either you rarely have that, which is like 0 to 1 to 2 days per week. Occasionally I have it maybe 3 to 5 times a week, or often, like I have this every single day, basically. As well as the vegetable group. So that's just how much do you eat vegetables in your daily week. Next, it's going to ask you about dark green vegetables. So this is anything like broccoli, greens such as collards, mustard greens, turnip greens, kale, spinach, any raw leafy greens like romaine, watercress, dark leafy lettuce, endive, or escargot. Any of those types of things, you're going to put you either rarely do it, occasionally, often, or always. And then it's going to ask you, do you eat any red or orange vegetables? Now, this might be kind of silly questions because you might be thinking, why are they asking me about the color of my vegetable? But color plays a huge role in our vitamin intake. So it's important that you kind of think about what types of foods you're consuming, and it can give you good recommendations on how to include foods that fall into these kinds of categories that have different nutrients than maybe your typical non-bright colors. So red and orange vegetables are things like tomatoes, bell peppers, carrots, pumpkins, sweet potatoes, squash, anything like that. Next, it's going to ask you beans, peas, or lentils. This is a protein type of question. This is like a plant-based protein question. So this can be anything like beans of any kind, black, garbanzo, kidney, pinto, soybeans, black-eyed peas or split peas, edamames, or red, brown, or green lentils. And then I'll ask you grains. So this is anything that is made from grains. So that's wheat, rice, oat, cornmeal, barley, anything like that. Tortillas are also grain products. Breakfast cereals are often grain products. You do need to check that though on the box. Bread and pasta. And then don't forget, popcorn also counts as a grain. And then whole grains is a little bit different. So this is going to be anything that is made with like whole wheat flour, bulgur, which is cracked wheat, oatmeal, cornmeal, whole wheat bread, whole wheat pastas, or any like brown rice. You're going to put that there. And then protein. This is going to include everything. So not just plant-based, or sorry, not just non-plant-based protein, but also non-plant-based, or sorry, plant-based protein. So this is seafood, meat, poultry, eggs, beans, peas, lentils, nuts, seeds, soy products, anything like that. All right, now we have our seafood. Now, if you don't follow any seafood diet, same with that previous question of meat, you're just going to put that you don't intake any of that stuff. But seafood might be part of your diet, so you're going to want to put how often you consume any fish or shellfish products. And then other protein foods. So this is like nuts, seeds, soy products, beans, peas, or lentils. So this is just things that maybe you consume extra of, or you want to emphasize that you do consume more of that. Now we're going to go to the dairy group. So this is going to be anything that includes dairy milk or yogurt. So this is an important distinction because this is going to be anything that includes dairy milk or yogurt, cheese, lactose-free versions also count, and any fortified soy milk or soy yogurt. But the foods that do not fall into the dairy group is going to be anything that's made from milk that has like little to no calcium. So that's cream cheese, sour cream, and butter or cream. So those do not count as a dairy group item. Then it's going to ask you, how often do you drink low fat, which is 1%, or fat free, which is 0% dairy milk? And then it's going to ask you, you might be someone who intakes, like I intake lactose free beverages. So that would be something that I would put here. And or things like soy milk or soy beverages. And then it's gonna ask you a question about what you would like to kind of get out of this My Plate. So it could be anything like healthy beverage choices, meal planning, time savers, vegetarian meals, maybe dining out or takeout, or food preparation. So you're gonna mark all the options that you would like to have presented to you. And then finally, it's going to ask you if you would like to learn anything more about salt, saturated fats, and added sugars. Now, I do encourage you, this is optional question, but I do encourage you to click all three. These are three categories that are often linked with a lot of inability to lose weight because sodium can cause our body to retain a lot more water and hold on to things. Added sugars just create extra sugar in the body that's not needed, which can then turn into fat. And then saturated fats are just something that in general we try to reduce the amount of intake. So I recommend that you put all three just so you can see the articles that are written about it, but it is up to your choice. And finally, there you go. You have finished and you are a MyPlate Pro. So you can download your results or save your results. I do want to show you a couple of things that you might see after. One really great resource with MyPlate is Shop Simple. And that is a app that kind of goes to help you prepare budget friendly foods, opportunities to save money with food related things in your area. It's a really great overall, just thorough app. Then I would like to introduce you to Healthy Eating on a Budget. This is just in general another great way to plan, shop, or even just prepare your meals that fit within your schedule and budget. Because we're all busy and we all don't have as much money as we'd love to spend on our food. So this is a great way to just kind of round it all out together. And then there's something called tip sheets. I do recommend downloading these tip sheets and keeping them somewhere that you can reference. It can be anything towards like how we can include more protein or what protein even looks like in general, how we can reduce some simple sugars. So tip sheets are great. They are formulated very well and they overall encompass anything that your diet might be lacking or you need to kind of include a little bit better. And then finally here, we love this MyPlate app. I think it's awesome. They'll give you a result code based on your questionnaire that you just recently filled out, and you can put that into the app, and it will help you curate all sorts of food group goals, help you track your goals, and anything just relating to how you can better add more nutrients in your diet. And then finally, here we have the MyPlate kitchen recipes. I personally use this and I love it. It's a great way to see how you can find new recipes, maybe things that are really simple but have high protein, or really simple and have less fat, stuff like that. I think it's a great food choice and it has been curated to provide you with the best nutrient option. So I do think that's a great one. Okay, hopefully that was a great overview on MyPlate. If you have more questions, my information is at the end, so I'd be more than happy to help you navigate through that as well as just kind of get used to using that. Okay, let's kind of pivot a little bit and focus on protein. So, why is protein so important? This is, I think, one of the most main things that we talked about in the beginning was that 35% on the 95th percentile don't get enough protein. And that is just totally sad because we can add so much more protein in ways that you might not even think are protein. So, let's talk a little bit about like what it means long term if you don't have adequate protein intake. First, it can increase the adipose tissue retention. Adipose tissue is fat tissues, and retention just basically means it will stay. So fat tissue can stay longer. It can decrease your metabolic rate, which is something that is important for fat burning. It can decrease your overall energy expenditure and storage, which is really important for how our body functions. It can reduce your lean body mass, which is all of the things that you love, your muscles, your skeletal system. It can also reduce your energy digestibility. So that is basically saying that the energy that you consume through food, because every food group has energy, it can reduce that ability to make it as effective as it was before. And mostly, the biggest one out of here is it can increase your food consumption. Protein makes kind of tricks our brain into thinking that we're full. So if you aren't getting enough protein, you might be consuming more food than you actually think you need. And that's just a trick your mind plays on your body. And what does protein look like? So 1 ounce serving, which is kind of related to the MyPlate information, and you can kind of calculate to see how many your body needs per day. But protein comes in many forms besides meat. You can have 1 ounce of meat, but you can also have a fourth of a cup of cooked beans. 1 egg is considered 1 ounce. 1 tablespoon of peanut butter alone is already 1 ounce of protein serving. Half an ounce of nuts or seeds, fourth of a cup of tofu, or even 1 ounce of tempeh, which is cooked. Let's talk a little bit about amino acids. So this is something that is also really important. There's 20 different amino acids that your body needs, and they each have different functions. 11 out of the 20 amino acids of our body are actually produced by your body yourself. So you actually don't need to worry about getting them from a diet. And those are just called non-essential amino acids. But a food is considered a complete protein when it contains all 9 amino acids that our body can't produce on its own. So that remaining 9 out of 20 are called essential, and those must be consumed. Some staple plant-based protein options. And the reason why I'm highlighting this is because protein can sometimes be really expensive when you buy it when it's non-plant-based. So anything like meat related or seafood can be really expensive. But we can get the same amount of protein in a very cost-efficient way as well. So tofu, tempeh, and edamame are really high in iron, calcium, and contain 12 to 20 grams of protein per about 100 grams serving, which is really little. That's a very small amount considering how much protein it offers. And that is considered a complete protein. So it has all 9 amino acids contained in there. Lentils, 18 grams of protein is offered per cooked cup. So that's a great option as well. Beans, 1 cup of beans. Not every bean, but you can kind of do a little bit of research on that. But the average beans contain about 15 grams of protein per cooked cup. And those are not complete proteins. So they don't contain all 9 essential amino acids, but they're still great protein options and would not discount them. Nutritional yeast is a really fun one. If you haven't heard of it, it's kind of a substitute for cheese. It's weirdly cheesy, which is going to be strange because when you look at it, you'll be like, wow, this is like a yellow powder, but it actually has this like cheesy taste and texture when you mix it in like pastas or anything like that. And just half an ounce, which is 16 grams, contains over 9 grams of protein. And that is also a complete amino acid. It has all 9. And finally, hemp seeds. 3 tablespoons contains 9 grams of protein, and this is also a complete essential amino acid. And hemp seeds are great because you can add them into smoothies and protein shakes and baked goods, and they offer so much more. But don't stop there. Protein is a great way to keep yourself full and promote lean muscle mass, but why would you stop there? The best practice is to pair protein with fiber, and it has its greatest effects. So these are some research articles here that have kind of highlighted that. It's best to pair protein and fiber. So an example of that is fiber, which would be an apple, maybe you cut it up and you have it with some peanut butter. That is a complete section. So the fiber is offered from the apple and the protein is offered from the peanut butter or almond butter or any nut butter or any sort of similarity like that. And these are just great articles that if you're interested in, I can always send you as well. But these are great ways to pair the two together to create the best overall result. Okay, so here is my recipe book. Um, this is a shameless plug, but if you're interested in looking for more vegan or vegetarian recipes that have been kind of curated and tested many, many times, I really encourage you to take a look at this book and to kind of make it your own. So feel free to substitute or add in great options. You can always change every option in this book to have in or incorporate meat. So if you are interested in doing that, you can always do that as well. In addition, I myself and another nutrition student were the creators of the March 2024 National Nutrition Month newsletter. And this is a great, great option if you're looking for uh, Chicagoland pantry resources, ways to subscribe to email newsletters, have free webinars, maybe some fun facts to keep it light. And then I do want to highlight there's this great website called Supercook. And if it's called supercook.com, and you go in there and you put in every food group that you have or every exact food item that you have in your pantry or fridge, and it will search the internet and only give you recipes that come back with those exact ingredients. So great way when you're stressed on time and you just need to make something. And then finally, there's some really great evidence-based daily habits that can help you have a better nutritious intake. And finally, here, this is my email and my LinkedIn. I would encourage you to connect. I would love to hear your stories or any resources that you would like to share as well. I'm constantly learning as well as a student and committed to the lifelong success of nutrition for not only my patients, but myself as well. And here are some references. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to hearing from you.